His hands seemed to tremble. His walk was slow, his back slightly hunched. Everyone thought Frank Martinez was just an old, tired janitor. Until that day, when he knelt beside the heart attack victim in the ER. In that moment, his hands stopped shaking, his back straightened, and what he did next, no one expected it. Before this story begins, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, and if you believe stories like this need to be told. Don't forget to subscribe. Frank Martinez was the earliest employee at Denver General Hospital. Every morning at 5:45 a.m., he would quietly enter through the staff entrance. 67 years old, medium height, gray-haired man, wearing the same gray jumpsuit, same old sneakers, swiping the same plastic ID card. No one talked much with him. They'd say, "Good morning, Frank," and he'd nod slightly. That was it. Most nurses felt sorry for him. Poor old man, still having to work at this age, they'd think. Some didn't even notice him. He was just, there, like hospital furniture. Frank worked the morning shift cleaning the ER corridors. He'd sweep slowly, mop the floors with his back slightly bent forward. His hands would sometimes shake slightly. Age, everyone thought. But none of them knew that those hands had done very different things 40 years ago. Dr. Sarah Chen was the ER chief. Young, dynamic, completely dedicated to her work. She saw Frank every day, but never really looked at him. The first time she paid attention to him was after a strange incident. Last month, a stabbing victim had come to the ER. The patient was bleeding heavily, and as they rushed him to the OR, blood drops scattered across the corridor. Other patients panicked. Nurses rushed to get cleaning chemicals. But Frank acted differently. Dr. Chen had seen him during the chaos. Frank was cleaning the blood traces using only water and cloth, but his technique was very professional, as if he'd cleaned blood hundreds of times before. No disgust, no hesitation. Strange, Dr. Chen had thought. He knows this job very well. But then she forgot that moment. Hospital life was too busy to think about such details. Nurse Patricia had worked in the ER for 15 years. She'd seen a lot, was good at reading people, and there was something odd about Frank. First, his walk. Yes, he was an old man, but his movement was different. His steps were calculated. Walking down the corridor, he unconsciously scanned his surroundings, as if he was ready for anything at any moment. Then his eyes. Even while cleaning, Frank observed everything around him. Which patient was in bad condition? Which doctor was stressed? Which family member was anxious? He noticed it all. This man, Patricia had thought, is not an ordinary janitor, but she hadn't shared this with anyone. Who would believe it? March 15th, 2:30 p.m. Frank was mopping the ER corridor when ambulance sirens were heard. Then the rushing began. Heart attack! 52-year-old male patient. Incoming. Dr. Chen was shouting commands. Prepare the defibrillator. Connect the monitors. Call the lab for blood work. The stretcher was rushed in. A middle-aged man, pale face, eyes closed. Next to him, his wife, a young woman in tears. Robert! Robert, look at me. Please open your eyes. The patient was taken to the trauma table. Dr. Chen immediately checked the heart monitor. The situation was bad. Very bad. Pulse very weak. Blood pressure dropping. Frank stood in the corner, watching everything. The mop in his hand was motionless, but his eyes were on the patient. As Dr. Chen was treating the patient, nurses were preparing medications. But suddenly, alarms started ringing. Doctor! The heart stopped. Defibrillator. Now. But the power went out. It would take a few seconds for the hospital generator to kick in. Those seconds could be fatal for a heart attack patient. Dr. Chen panicked. When will the generator come on? A few more seconds. Those few seconds meant Robert's life. That's when. Frank dropped his mop. Frank walked toward the patient, but his walk had completely changed. No more shaky old man steps. Confident, secure, steady steps. His hands weren't trembling anymore. His back was straight. His eyes had sharpened. Dr. Chen was shocked. Frank, what are you doing? This is a sterile area. But Frank didn't answer. He knelt beside the patient and started perfect CPR. His hands were in the correct position. The pressure was at the right angle. The rhythm was perfect. 30 chest compressions, 2 breaths. 30 chest compressions, 2 breaths. Dr. Chen was frozen. How is he doing this? Nurse Patricia was also shocked into stillness. Who was this man? While performing CPR, Frank was giving instructions to Dr. Chen. Doctor, prepare epinephrine. 1 milligram intravenous. Frank, you? Check the patient's airway. The tongue might be pulled back. Dr. Chen was following the instructions in amazement. This man knew medical terms. Not just knew them, he was using them correctly. Check the monitor. Has the rhythm returned? The generator kicked in. The monitor turned on. There was slight movement in the heart rhythm. Continue, Frank said. Not stable yet. He continued CPR. His hands never tired. His technique was perfect, as if he'd done this for years. And suddenly, beep, beep, beep. The heartbeats started coming regularly. Robert's eyes opened, first blurry, then focused. He looked at his wife. Lisa, Shh, don't talk. You're okay. You're okay. Dr. Chen checked the monitors. Stable, completely stable. Life-threatening situation has passed. Robert was saved. Everyone looked at Frank. He was still kneeling beside the patient, but had returned to his old self. His hands were slightly trembling. His back was bent. Frank, Dr. Chen said, how did you manage this? Frank slowly stood up. He picked up his mop. I used to know a little, he said quietly. What did you used to do? Frank hesitated. Then he looked at Dr. Chen. There was very deep fatigue in his eyes. U.S. Army Medical Corps, he said in a low voice. Combat medic. Dr. Chen held her breath. Combat medic? 1981 to 2019. 38 years. Which regions? Frank lowered his eyes. Afghanistan, Iraq. Different places. Nurse Patricia couldn't close her mouth. You're a former military medic? I wasn't an officer. I was a staff sergeant. But in the field, there was doctor, stretcher bearer, nurse. We had to do everything. Dr. Chen understood. Frank wasn't just a medic. He was a combat medic. In war zones, under gunfire, where bombs exploded, he had saved patients. How many lives did you save? Frank shrugged. Never counted. What mattered wasn't the number. It was the person. But why? Dr. Chen said. Why are you working as a janitor here? With your experience, you could find work anywhere. Frank took a deep breath. When I retired, I didn't want to do anything. For 38 years, always emergencies, always life and death struggles. I was tired. But then sitting at home became torture too. I started coming to hospitals, just to see people, to see if life was continuing. And you started working. Janitorial work was easy. Nobody asked questions. I didn't have to tell anyone anything. I was just here. Dr. Chen nodded. But today you intervened. Robert was going to die. I couldn't watch. Old habit. The next day, news had spread among the hospital staff. The real story of Janitor Frank Martinez. Doctors looked at him differently now. Nurses greeted him with respect. Even the hospital administrator came to talk. Frank, the administrator said, we could offer you a more suitable position. Your experience, ... Thank you, Frank said, but I'm happy being a janitor. But why? Because now I don't have to watch anyone die. I just clean. I clean life. From that day on, Dr. Chen started seeing Frank differently. She no longer saw him just as a janitor. She saw him as a mentor. Sometimes, when there were difficult cases, she'd call him over. Frank never refused. He'd come quietly, share his experience. Frank, Dr. Chen said one day, why didn't you tell anyone about your past? Because there's nothing in my past to brag about, Frank said. I just did my job. Others did too. We all did. But you saved lives. We all saved lives. You saved them too. Patricia saves them too. The difference is, I used to do it under gunfire. Now I do it in a hospital. That's all. When Robert was discharged from the hospital, he wanted to see Frank. I looked for you, Robert said. I wanted to meet the person who saved my life. Frank was embarrassed. I was just there. The doctors saved you. No, Robert said. I remember everything. You brought me back to life. Robert's wife, Lisa, had come too. We don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, Frank said. Just live your life. That's enough. Hospital staff now treated Frank differently, but he hadn't changed at all. He wore the same gray jumpsuit, worked in the same silence. But the difference was, no one looked at him with pity anymore. They looked at him with respect, because they understood that truly strong people don't brag. They exist quietly, and when needed, they help without thinking. When Frank came to work that morning, mopping the ER corridor, Dr. Chen saw him. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Dr. Chen. How are you today? Frank smiled. He was smiling for the first time. I'm good. Life is beautiful. Frank's story teaches us all something. We shouldn't judge the people we meet in life only by how they appear. That old man might be a former pilot. That quiet woman might be a former surgeon. That ordinary worker might be someone who changed history. Because real heroes don't look like heroes. They live quietly, serve quietly, and when needed, they emerge. Frank still works at that hospital, still clean. But now, everyone knows that those hands don't just clean. Those hands save lives. If this story touched you, write in the comments which city you're watching from. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, don't forget to subscribe, because silent heroes are everywhere. You just need to see them.